The information provided in this presentation is strictly for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional financial, travel, or legal advice. The travel industry utilizes highly volatile, algorithmic dynamic pricing models that are subject to rapid market fluctuations, regional supply and demand shifts, and individual consumer profiling. All strategies discussed regarding hotel bookings, negotiation tactics, digital footprint management, and loyalty program optimizations are based on historical trends, publicly available market data, and specific case studies. These examples do not represent guaranteed results or promises of future pricing availability. The outcomes of applying these strategies will vary significantly based on your exact location, the time of booking, current macroeconomic conditions, and the specific policies of individual hotel properties or online travel agencies. Viewers must conduct their own extensive due diligence, carefully review all terms and conditions, cancellation policies, and hidden fee structures before making any financial commitments. We assume no liability for any financial losses, travel disruptions, missed opportunities, or adverse experiences resulting from the implementation of the educational concepts explored in this video. Always consult with certified travel advisors or financial professionals if you require personalized guidance. Everything you know about booking a hotel room is a carefully orchestrated digital illusion. Right now, millions of Americans are planning trips to major metropolitan hubs like New York City and Los Angeles, actively bleeding thousands of hard-earned dollars into a system that is rigged against them from the moment they open their web browser. You might think you are a savvy consumer because you opened 3 different tabs, checked a few comparison sites, and finally clicked purchase when a flashing red text warned you that there was only one room left at that price. What you did not realize is that you were not making a choice. You were participating in a highly sophisticated psychological and algorithmic trap, designed to extract the absolute maximum amount of currency your specific digital profile indicated you were willing to pay. The shocking reality is that the modern travel booking ecosystem is essentially a duopoly, a controlled market dominated by just 2 massive conglomerate corporations that own nearly every single booking site you have ever used. When you bounce from one site to another, feeling the satisfaction of hunting down a $20 discount, you are often just handing your money to the exact same parent company, all while their tracking cookies monitor your escalating desperation and adjust the prices accordingly. Consider a profoundly illuminating case study regarding 2 hypothetical travelers, both flying into John F. Kennedy International Airport on the exact same Friday afternoon, both taking a cab to the exact same luxury 4-star property in the heart of Manhattan. They check in at the same time, they receive identical standard king rooms on the same floor, and they look out at the exact same view of the skyline. The first traveler, who booked through a major online travel agency 2 months in advance using their personal laptop, paid $850 per night. The second traveler, utilizing a specific algorithmic blind spot and a precise timing window we are going to dissect, is paying exactly $190 per night for the exact same physical space. This staggering discrepancy is not an accident, and it is not a matter of pure luck. It is the direct result of understanding the fundamental economic reality of the hospitality industry. A hotel room is a highly perishable asset. Unlike a pair of shoes or a television that can sit on a shelf indefinitely waiting for a buyer, a hotel room's value drops to absolute zero the second the clock strikes midnight. If that room sits empty, the revenue potential for that night is permanently destroyed, evaporating into thin air. This creates an intense behind-the-scenes war between the hotel's revenue management software, which wants to hold out for the highest-paying corporate client, and the sheer terror of allowing inventory to spoil. In hyper-competitive, high-density markets like Los Angeles and New York, this dynamic is amplified to a fever pitch. In Los Angeles, pricing algorithms factor in everything from localized micro-events in specific zip codes, like an unannounced celebrity gala in Beverly Hills, to the macro trends of convention center schedules in downtown LA, creating bizarre geographical pricing surges that catch the average tourist completely off guard. Meanwhile, in New York City, recent aggressive local legislation regarding short-term rentals has effectively wiped out tens of thousands of alternative lodging options overnight, funneling a massive tidal wave of tourist demand directly back into traditional hotels. This artificial supply constriction has caused base rates to skyrocket, making historical pricing models nearly obsolete, and leaving the average American family feeling entirely priced out of visiting their own country's cultural capitals. But there is a fracture in their system. What if you could see behind the curtain and manipulate the very algorithms designed to profile you? What if you could systematically strip away your digital identity, effectively becoming a ghost in the machine, and force the major booking platforms to offer you the raw, uninflated wholesale rates they desperately try to hide from the general public. We are going to explore the precise mechanisms of how to completely erase your targeted consumer profile and reset the pricing boards in your favor. We will analyze the historical trends of booking windows, identifying the exact chronological sweet spots where revenue managers panic and begin silently dumping premium inventory onto obscure secondary markets. The problem this deep dive solves for you today is the absolute lack of transparency and the feeling of financial victimization that comes with modern travel. You will no longer be paralyzed by the anxiety of wondering if you pulled the trigger too early or waited too long. We are going to systematically dismantle the deceptive psychological marketing tactics used against you, from the artificial scarcity countdown timers to the deliberately confusing terminology of non-refundable rates. We will examine detailed potential outcomes of utilizing direct negotiation strategies with property-level management, bypassing the algorithmic gatekeepers entirely to unlock unadvertised inventory and complementary upgrades. Furthermore, we will extensively cover the insidious rise of mandatory resort fees, destination fees, and urban amenity fees that selectively plague cities like New York and LA, analyzing historical legal precedents and practical scripts you can use to successfully challenge these junk fees at the front desk. You are about to learn how to completely rewrite the rules of travel procurement, turning a process designed to exploit your data into a precise, calculated acquisition of luxury assets at historically low valuations. To understand how to acquire these luxury assets at historically low valuations, we must first dissect the digital profiling machine that currently dictates the price you see on your screen. Imagine if the grocery store changed the price of milk based on what kind of car you drove to get there, or how many times you walked down the dairy aisle. That is exactly what the hospitality industry is doing to your travel budget right now. In the year 2026, the technology tracking your online behavior is more aggressive than ever before. Every single time you search for a hotel in Los Angeles or New York, a complex network of data brokers, tracking pixels, and browser cookies is building a comprehensive profile of your financial elasticity. They know if you are browsing from a high-end flagship smartphone or a 10-year-old desktop computer. They track your geographic location down to the zip code, and they analyze your search patterns to determine your level of travel desperation. Let us look at a case study involving a typical consumer, David from Chicago, who is planning a 4-day trip to Manhattan. David does what most people do. He opens his browser on a Tuesday evening, searches for Midtown Manhattan hotels, and finds a standard room for $300 a night. He decides to think about it and discuss the budget with his family. When David returns to that exact same website on Thursday afternoon, the price has miraculously jumped to $345 a night. A flashing red text banner warns him that demand is exceptionally high and rooms in that specific neighborhood are selling out rapidly. David panics and books the room immediately, believing he is securing the absolute last available spot before prices rise entirely out of his budget. This specific sequence of events is not bad luck, and it is rarely a genuine reflection of a sudden organic spike in tourist demand. This is a meticulously manufactured crisis. The pricing algorithm recognized David through his device IP address and browser footprint, noted his return visit indicating high purchase intent, and artificially inflated the baseline price to trigger a psychological response known as loss aversion. The automated system successfully pressured him into paying an extra $180 for his total stay simply by leveraging his own browsing history against him. Historical trends and independent audits of massive online travel agencies have repeatedly demonstrated that dynamic pricing models frequently penalize consumers for demonstrating continued interest in a specific property. Furthermore, there is substantial industry data suggesting that the type of hardware you use can dramatically alter your potential outcomes. Users searching from expensive, newly released mobile devices often see higher base rates than those searching from older, budget-oriented hardware, simply because the algorithm inherently infers a higher level of disposable income. To defeat this sophisticated digital dragnet, you must adopt what industry insiders might classify as a ghost protocol. You cannot simply rely on the standard private browsing mode of your favorite web browser, as modern device fingerprinting easily bypasses this basic, surface-level protection. To truly reset the pricing board and view the authentic base rates, you need to completely sever the connection between your past digital behavior and your current transaction. This requires a highly systematic approach. First, clearing all browser cache and active cookie data is mandatory, but it is merely the opening move. The second, far more effective step involves utilizing a premium virtual private network to fundamentally alter your geographic point of origin. Let us examine another case study featuring Emily, a corporate traveler from Seattle looking to book a luxury suite in Beverly Hills for a major industry conference in 2026. Instead of booking directly from her home office network, Emily connects her secure connection to a server located in a distinctly different region, perhaps a Midwestern state or even an international node in a country with a historically weaker currency exchange rate relative to the United States dollar. Because international travel markets often possess entirely different allocated inventory buckets and heavily localized pricing tiers specifically designed to stimulate foreign tourism, Emily frequently encounters baseline rates that are 15 to 20% lower than the domestic American pricing she witnessed just moments prior on her unprotected connection. She is ultimately accessing the exact same central reservation system, but by presenting a radically different digital origin point, she entirely bypasses the localized price gouging engineered specifically for the affluent domestic United States market. Once you have successfully masked your digital identity and neutralized the profiling algorithms, you must master the temporal mechanics of hotel revenue management. The global hotel industry operates on a highly predictable, mathematically driven timeline of anxiety. Let us break down the exact chronological anatomy of a standard hotel booking window. 90 days out from your target arrival date, the property revenue managers are entirely confident. Their automated systems are setting prices at an absolute premium, explicitly targeting corporate event planners and hyper-organized tourists who are willing to pay top dollar for the psychological peace of mind that comes with securing their lodging months in advance. At this early stage, trying to find a mathematical deal is statistically improbable, because the hotel currently feels absolutely zero financial pressure to discount its pristine inventory. However, as we cross the critical 21-day threshold, a fundamental psychological shift occurs within the corporate hotel management offices. The property revenue manager begins intensely analyzing their daily Smith Travel Research reports, a universally utilized hospitality data system that strictly compares their current occupancy rates against their direct local competitors in the immediate area. This reporting metric, specifically known as revenue per available room, is the absolute lifeblood of the hospitality industry. If a massive hotel in Times Square realizes they are sitting at a concerning 60% occupancy, while their historical trends for that specific week in 2026 suggest they should be operating at 80%, the algorithmic safety net begins to rapidly fray. The property is suddenly facing a massive, unrecoverable shortfall in projected quarterly earnings. This exact moment is where the first wave of silent discounting begins. The hotel will absolutely not broadcast these new price drops on the front page of their main public website, because doing so would severely cannibalize the revenue from the loyal guests who already booked at the much higher premium rate months ago. If those early planners saw the new discounted price, they would simply cancel their flexible reservations and rebook at the lower rate, completely destroying the hotel yield. Therefore, the hotel must distribute these new, cheaper rates entirely invisibly. They achieve this invisible distribution by selectively feeding lower price tiers to obscure third-party wholesale vendors, secretly packaging them into bundled flight and hotel deals where the exact room rate is legally hidden from the consumer, or by utilizing highly targeted geo-fenced mobile application discounts. For example, historical trends show that major luxury chains in Los Angeles frequently push significant, unadvertised discounts exclusively to mobile device users who are physically located within a strict 50-mile radius of the property on the exact day of arrival, desperately hoping to capture spontaneous road trip traffic without alerting their national, high-paying desktop browsing audience. The absolute most critical window for securing historically low valuations occurs exactly 48 to 72 hours before check-in. Imagine if you are a senior hotel manager staring at 50 empty premium rooms on a Thursday afternoon for a Friday night stay. You know with absolute mathematical certainty that the revenue potential of those specific rooms will vanish completely into thin air the moment the sun rises on Saturday. The pressure to generate any revenue whatsoever, even at a massive fraction of the standard corporate rate, becomes overwhelming. This is exactly when prices on specific secondary channels will completely collapse. But you cannot simply walk up to the physical front desk in New York City and demand this algorithmic fire sale price. The front desk staff are strictly restricted by rigid standard operating procedures and physically cannot manually override their local terminal to match the absolute lowest online wholesale algorithms. You have to know exactly which hidden digital portals the revenue managers use to dump this desperate inventory without damaging their public brand prestige. There is an entire subterranean ecosystem of opaque booking platforms where luxury properties quietly liquidate their unsold rooms under the strict cloak of anonymity. But navigating these blind bidding sites requires a very specific, mathematically calculated methodology, because if you click the wrong button without understanding the parameters, you could easily end up locked into a strict non-refundable reservation at a highly undesirable property in a completely inconvenient neighborhood. The exact mathematical formula to decode these hidden hotel identities and guarantee you are bidding on a legitimate 5-star property is a tightly guarded industry secret, and exposing that exact formula is exactly what we must tackle next. To expose this exact formula, we must first understand the underlying architecture of opaque booking platforms. In the landscape of 2026, the major online travel conglomerates operate specialized secondary marketplaces designed exclusively to liquidate distressed, expiring hotel inventory. The fundamental premise of an opaque listing is simple yet psychologically daunting. The platform offers a heavily discounted nightly rate, often 50 to 60% below the retail market value, but actively conceals the exact name, physical address, and visual branding of the property until immediately after your credit card has been charged for a strictly non-refundable reservation. For the luxury property, this mechanism is absolutely essential. It allows them to fill empty rooms and generate necessary operating capital without broadcasting a fire sale to the general public, thereby protecting their carefully cultivated brand equity and preventing standard corporate clients from demanding match discounts. For the uneducated consumer, however, it is a massive financial gamble, essentially throwing hundreds of dollars at a digital slot machine and hoping the resulting accommodation is not situated next to a noisy freight elevator or located in a rapidly deteriorating neighborhood. But this system contains a structural vulnerability, a digital fingerprint that simply cannot be erased without violating fundamental consumer protection standards and platform usability requirements. Even when a platform attempts to hide the identity of the hotel, they are legally and functionally required to provide the prospective buyer with a highly specific set of data points to facilitate the transaction. They must provide the official star rating, a defined geographical zone outlining the general location, a comprehensive list of guaranteed on-site amenities, and most crucially, an aggregated customer review score accompanied by the total number of verified reviews. This specific combination of data points is the exact key required to unlock the hidden identity of the asset. We call this the cross-reference matrix methodology. Let us examine a precise case study featuring Michael, an independent software engineer from Austin, Texas, who is orchestrating a last-minute business deployment to Los Angeles in October 2026. Michael requires high-end accommodations but refuses to pay the artificially inflated corporate baseline rates. He navigates to a well-known opaque booking portal and immediately identifies a highly compelling listing. The platform is offering a 4.5-star property situated within the highly coveted West Hollywood geographical zone for an astonishingly low rate of $145 per night. Historical trends dictate that the standard public retail rate for a legitimate 4.5-star asset in this specific Los Angeles enclave easily exceeds $400 per night. The opaque listing provides a critical string of data, displaying an 8.8 out of 10 overall user satisfaction score, based on exactly 1,245 verified guest reviews. Furthermore, the listing guarantees a highly specific combination of amenities, including a rooftop swimming pool, pet-friendly policies, a full-service commercial spa facility, and dedicated electric vehicle charging stations. Armed with this digital fingerprint, Michael does not guess, and he certainly does not gamble his travel budget. He immediately opens a secondary secure browser window and navigates directly to the primary, fully transparent retail booking site, owned by the exact same parent conglomerate. This is a critical step because the review databases and amenity categorizations are entirely shared across the parent company internal server infrastructure. On the transparent retail site, Michael systematically applies rigid search filters. He restricts the geographical search perimeter strictly to the West Hollywood neighborhood. He filters the quality tier exclusively to 4.5-star properties. Finally, he meticulously checks the boxes for the exact required amenities, selecting rooftop pool, pet-friendly, full-service spa, and electric vehicle charging. This calculated data input instantly collapses a massive regional inventory of hundreds of potential hotels down to a highly concentrated list of merely 3 potential candidate properties. The final step of the cross-reference matrix relies on the most distinct identifier available. Michael examines the 3 remaining transparent listings. Hotel Alpha features an 8.2 review score. Hotel Beta boasts an 8.8 score, but shows over 3,000 total reviews. Hotel Charlie, however, displays an 8.8 review score based on exactly 1,245 verified guest reviews. The data points align perfectly. The digital fingerprint is an absolute, undeniable match. Michael has successfully stripped away the algorithmic anonymity. He now knows with exceptional certainty that by purchasing the $145 opaque listing, he is actually securing a confirmed reservation at Hotel Charlie, entirely bypassing their public $400 rate wall. As the technology landscape evolves in 2026, some opaque platforms attempt to obscure this vulnerability by dynamically rounding the review counts, displaying 1,000+ reviews instead of the exact figure. When faced with this countermeasure, you must pivot to secondary identification metrics. You must analyze the exact square footage of the standard room offered, or cross-reference highly unique amenity combinations, such as an indoor heated pool paired with a highly specific maximum pet weight limit of exactly 40 pounds. These granular details are mandated by liability policies and cannot be dynamically altered by the opaque algorithm, providing a secondary avenue for positive identification. However, mastering the cross-reference matrix is only one pillar of this strategy. You must also develop a ruthless understanding of geographical zoning manipulation. Imagine if you are planning a trip to New York City, and you blindly purchase an opaque listing that advertises a luxury property in the generic Central Park South Zone. You might reasonably assume you are securing a serene environment overlooking the greenery, only to discover after your non-refundable purchase that the algorithmic boundary drawn by the opaque site actually extends 3 full avenues westward, placing your physical hotel directly adjacent to a massive, multi-year commercial construction site or a high-traffic transit hub. The booking platform did not lie about the zone. They simply manipulated the geographical boundaries to offload highly undesirable inventory under the guise of a premium neighborhood label. To counteract this, historical trends show that the most successful travel procurement specialists utilize satellite imagery and overlapping neighborhood boundary maps. Before executing any opaque transaction, you must meticulously trace the exact perimeter of the zone provided by the platform and cross-reference those boundaries against real-time municipal zoning maps and current construction permit databases. If your decoded candidate property sits precariously on the extreme outer edge of a designated luxury zone, the potential outcomes shift dramatically, and the risk of securing a room with a compromised view or excessive ambient noise increases exponentially. The algorithm frequently uses these edge properties to test consumer elasticity, effectively subsidizing the true luxury assets located in the absolute center of the zone. By executing the cross-reference matrix and mastering geographical boundary analysis, you have successfully transformed a digital casino into a precise, calculated acquisition of distressed luxury inventory. You have effectively forced the hospitality conglomerate to sell you their premium product at their absolute lowest wholesale floor. But securing this artificially depressed baseline rate is merely the foundational step of the entire operation. The true masters of travel procurement in 2026 do not stop at a heavily discounted standard room. They actively leverage this extremely low financial entry point to systematically extract thousands of dollars in complimentary suite upgrades, exclusive club lounge access, and entirely waived urban destination fees directly from the physical property staff upon arrival. But successfully executing this physical, in-person extraction requires an absolute mastery of human psychology and a highly specific verbal script that completely disarms the trained gatekeepers of luxury inventory. Understanding exactly what words to say to the front desk agent to trigger these unadvertised system overrides is exactly what we must dissect next. You have successfully secured the baseline wholesale rate and completely bypassed the algorithmic price gouging of the primary retail market. Now you are physically standing in the marble lobby of a premier Los Angeles or New York City hotel, transitioning from a digital ghost into a physical guest. The person standing behind the mahogany counter is not merely a customer service representative. They are an inventory gatekeeper, a human algorithm tasked with maximizing the revenue of the property on a minute-by-minute basis. For decades, the American public has been fed a highly popularized myth regarding front desk negotiations, often referred to as the $20 sandwich trick, where a guest attempts to discreetly slide a folded bill between their credit card and identification in exchange for a better room. In the highly digitized and heavily audited hospitality landscape of 2026, relying on this outdated bribery tactic is not only highly ineffective, but it can actually flag your guest profile with a negative internal classification. Modern property management systems track every single keystroke, and unapproved manual overrides for premium suites are heavily scrutinized by corporate revenue auditors. Therefore, to successfully extract these luxury assets without triggering a transactional defensive response, you must entirely abandon the concept of bribery and instead master the psychology of information asymmetry and operational leverage. To understand your leverage, you must first understand exactly what the agent is looking at when you hand them your identification. They are staring at a complex grid of color-coded blocks, representing every single room in the building. They see exactly which rooms are clean, which are currently occupied by extending guests, and most importantly, which premium suites have sat entirely empty for the last 48 hours. Your primary objective is to acquire that specific knowledge before you even approach the desk. The most effective strategy involves a real-time digital audit using the hotel's own mobile application. While you are standing in the physical line in the lobby, you open the native app and execute a dummy booking for that exact same night. You are not going to complete this purchase, but you are forcing the central reservation system to show you its hand. If the application allows you to book 5 distinct corner executive suites for immediate arrival, you now possess the absolute mathematical certainty that the hotel has a massive surplus of highly perishable, premium inventory that is desperately going to waste. Let us examine a highly specific case study featuring Sarah, a healthcare administrator from Ohio, who is arriving in New York City for a highly anticipated anniversary trip in the autumn of 2026. Sarah utilized our opaque booking strategy to secure a standard windowless interior room at a massive discount. However, she does not intend to sleep in that room. She approaches the desk armed with her real-time digital audit, knowing the property has multiple Park View suites sitting empty. The first critical variable she manipulates is the timing of her arrival. Historical trends across major metropolitan markets dictate that arriving at exactly 4 in the afternoon, the peak industry standard check-in time, yields the absolute lowest probability of a complimentary enhancement. The lobby is chaotic, the staff is overwhelmed, and their primary directive is simply processing the queue as rapidly as possible. Instead, Sarah times her arrival for exactly 1:15 in the afternoon, or alternatively, 8:45 in the evening. During these off-peak operational windows, the front desk agents have the breathing room to actually engage in discretionary inventory management. When Sarah initiates the interaction, she meticulously avoids utilizing the word upgrade. In the psychological training manuals of every major hotel conglomerate, the word upgrade is a strictly defined trigger word designed to initiate a rigid sales protocol. The moment you ask for an upgrade, the agent is trained to respond with a menu of paid options, effectively saying they would be delighted to upgrade you to a suite for an additional $150 per night. Instead, Sarah utilizes the lexicon of operational flexibility. She warmly greets the agent, establishes immediate human rapport, and then states that she noticed on the property application that they still possess some available inventory in the corner king categories. She then asks if there is any flexibility for a complimentary room enhancement to celebrate her specific milestone, or perhaps a simple reallocation to a higher floor away from the elevator banks. By utilizing terms like enhancement and reallocation, and by simultaneously presenting a modest request alongside a premium request, she provides the agent with multiple psychological avenues to grant her a favor without feeling like they are violating standard corporate upsell protocols. Furthermore, we must analyze the specific dynamics of the oversold standard category, a frequent occurrence in highly volatile markets like Los Angeles. Imagine if John, a project manager from Denver, is checking into a massive downtown Los Angeles property that happens to be hosting a localized technology convention. The corporate planners for this event negotiated a block of 400 standard base-level rooms, completely selling out the lowest tier of the hotel. However, the premium executive suites remain entirely vacant because convention attendees rarely have the budget authorization to book them. This creates a massive operational crisis for the hotel staff, known in the industry as a forced compression. The hotel physically has more standard reservations than standard rooms. They are mathematically forced to move a specific percentage of guests into the premium suites, simply to accommodate the sheer volume of bodies entering the building. John understands this specific historical trend. When he approaches the desk, he explicitly volunteers his operational flexibility. He politely informs the agent that he is in no rush, and if the standard categories are heavily compressed today, he is more than willing to wait an extra hour for housekeeping to finish if they need to utilize an executive suite to balance their house inventory. By actively offering a solution to the exact logistical nightmare the agent is currently facing on their screen, John transforms himself from a demanding consumer into a collaborative operational asset, drastically increasing his potential outcomes for a massive, multi-category enhancement. Another crucial metric that dictates the statistical probability of these outcomes is your precise length of stay. Front desk agents operate under strict directives regarding inventory spoilage. If you are staying for 5 consecutive nights, the agent is highly unlikely to grant a complimentary suite enhancement, because doing so permanently removes that premium asset from the potential sales pool for nearly a week. The opportunity cost to the hotel is simply too severe. However, if you are executing a rapid 1-night or 2-night stay, the mathematical risk of a paying customer randomly walking off the street and paying retail price for that exact suite is statistically negligible. Property managers would much rather put a guest in that empty suite for 1 night to guarantee a perfect survey score than let the asset sit entirely unutilized. By mastering the digital audit, refining your psychological lexicon, and understanding the operational pressures of forced compression and length of stay, you have successfully extracted a premium luxury experience while paying an artificially depressed wholesale baseline rate. You have effectively beaten the algorithmic pricing model and the human gatekeepers. You take your keycard, you ride the elevator to the top floor, and you unlock the door to a sprawling suite that you acquired for pennies on the dollar. You have won the game. But as you settle in and eventually review your digital folio the next morning, a chilling realization sets in. Buried at the bottom of the itemized receipt, completely negating a significant portion of the financial leverage you just brilliantly engineered, is a mandatory daily charge labeled as an urban destination fee or a metropolitan resort surcharge. These insidious, highly controversial junk fees have aggressively infected nearly every major property in New York and LA by 2026, designed specifically to extract revenue that cannot be touched by third-party commissions. Paying this fee is not an option for the educated traveler, and understanding the exact legal loopholes and consumer protection scripts required to force the management to completely scrub these charges from your final bill is exactly what we must tackle next. To effectively tackle these highly controversial charges, you must first understand the underlying economic architecture that birthed them. The proliferation of the urban destination fee, sometimes disguised as a resort fee or a facility charge, is not a random act of corporate greed, but rather a calculated, highly defensive financial maneuver deployed by the hospitality industry against the massive online travel conglomerates. Historical trends indicate that major booking platforms extract an exorbitant commission fee, often ranging from 15 to 25%, on every single base room rate they process. To protect their profit margins while simultaneously appearing competitive in online search rankings, hotels artificially deflate the advertised baseline nightly rate and subsequently shift a significant portion of the true cost into a mandatory, localized fee. Because this secondary fee is collected directly at the physical property level, rather than through the digital booking portal, it is entirely exempt from third-party commission structures. The hotel keeps 100% of that specific revenue stream. This practice, widely known as drip pricing, effectively penalizes the consumer for a backstage corporate war over digital distribution rights. Let us examine a detailed case study featuring Jessica, an independent marketing consultant traveling to a highly publicized boutique hotel in downtown Los Angeles in the spring of 2026. Jessica successfully utilized our previously discussed opaque booking strategies to secure a base rate of $190 per night. However, upon reviewing her digital folio, she discovers a daily $45 urban amenity fee. When she analyzes the itemized breakdown of this mandatory charge, the inclusions border on the absurd. The fee supposedly covers high-speed wireless internet, access to a subterranean fitness center, local domestic phone calls, the printing of airline boarding passes, and 2 small bottles of generic spring water replenished daily. In the highly connected digital landscape of 2026, Jessica already possesses unlimited high-speed cellular data. She has a digital boarding pass stored securely on her smartphone. She utilizes encrypted messaging applications for all communications, and she prefers her own specialized hydration products. The hotel is effectively forcing her to purchase a bundled package of entirely obsolete or profoundly redundant services under the strict guise of a mandatory property tax. The strategy to completely dismantle this fee requires a precise, multi-tiered approach grounded in the foundational principles of consumer protection and contract law. The absolute most critical phase of this operation begins at the exact moment of physical check-in. When the front desk agent presents the registration card outlining the daily rate and the associated destination fee, Jessica does not simply sign the document and accept the financial burden. She politely but firmly executes a preemptive strike. She explicitly informs the agent that she is traveling strictly for business, that she has her own dedicated mobile broadband infrastructure, and that she categorically declines all the specific services bundled within the amenity package. She clearly states that she will not be utilizing the fitness center, she will not consume the provided bottled water, and she requests that the fee be waived immediately as she is opting out of the associated services. This initial verbal declaration establishes a vital timeline of refusal. If the agent claims the fee is non-negotiable and mandated by the property management system, Jessica does not escalate the situation into a hostile confrontation in the lobby. She simply notes the agent's name, requests a printed copy of the specific amenities included in the fee, and proceeds to her room. The second phase of the extraction occurs throughout the duration of the stay, requiring meticulous documentation. Jessica ensures she leaves the 2 complimentary bottles of water entirely untouched on the desk. She never connects her personal devices to the property internet gateway, relying strictly on her cellular network. She physically never swipes her encrypted room key at the fitness center entrance. She is systematically building an undeniable evidentiary trail of non-consumption. The final confrontation occurs on the morning of departure. When Jessica approaches the desk to settle her final account, she asks to review the complete itemized folio. She then formally requests that the front desk manager remove the accumulated urban destination fees. She calmly reiterates her initial conversation at check-in, stating definitively that she explicitly declined the amenity package upon arrival and successfully avoided utilizing a single service listed in their mandatory bundle. She then deploys the specific phraseology that triggers immediate internal risk assessment protocols for hospitality management. She states that charging a consumer for services that were explicitly declined and demonstrably not rendered constitutes a highly deceptive pricing practice. She references recent historical trends where major state attorney generals have aggressively launched high-profile lawsuits against national hotel chains specifically targeting these exact hidden fee structures. Faced with a highly educated consumer calmly citing deceptive trade practices and services not rendered, the potential outcomes shift dramatically in favor of the guest. The front desk manager, possessing the absolute authority to manually override any folio charge, understands that fighting a $90 fee dispute is mathematically not worth the potential exposure to a formal consumer protection complaint or a negative social media escalation. In a vast majority of case studies utilizing this exact chronological methodology, the manager quietly keystrokes the fee away, classifying it internally as a customer service recovery adjustment. However, we must also examine the worst-case scenario. Imagine if you are dealing with an exceptionally rigid management structure that absolutely refuses to budge, insisting that the fee is essentially a local tax despite not being levied by any municipal government. If the property stonewalls your request, you smoothly pivot to the ultimate financial weapon in the modern travel arsenal, which is the credit card chargeback mechanism. You pay the final bill using a premium travel rewards credit card, specifically ensuring you secure a physical, printed copy of the zero-balance folio. The moment you leave the property, you initiate a formal dispute directly with your financial institution, strictly challenging the specific monetary value of the destination fees under the precise merchant category code of services not rendered. You upload your meticulously gathered documentation, including the initial list of declined amenities and your statement of non-usage. Because the hotel physically cannot provide digital logs of you utilizing their internet or swiping into their fitness center, they automatically lose the burden of proof required by the credit card processor. The bank forces the refund directly back to your account, bypassing the hotel management entirely. You have now successfully engineered a completely optimized travel transaction. You utilize digital ghosting to secure wholesale base rates, you leveraged operational compression to extract premium suite enhancements, and you systematically legally scrubbed the insidious junk fees from your final ledger. You are experiencing the absolute peak of luxury hospitality at a fraction of the retail cost. But everything we have covered so far relies entirely on manipulating the system from the outside as an anonymous consumer. What if you could flip the entire paradigm? What if you could force the hotel conglomerate to instantly recognize you as one of their most valuable, high-tier elite corporate clients before you even register for an account? The absolute fastest, most lucrative method to legally manufacture top-tier hotel loyalty status out of thin air, unlocking guaranteed late checkouts, complimentary premium breakfasts, and systemic priority treatment without ever actually spending 50 nights in a hotel, is a heavily guarded financial secret that we must expose next. To expose this heavily guarded financial secret, we must radically redefine our understanding of what hotel loyalty actually means in the modern economic era. Up until recently, the American general public largely believed that achieving top-tier elite status within a major global hospitality conglomerate was a grueling multi-year marathon of physical endurance. The traditional narrative dictated that you had to physically sleep in a generic hotel bed for 50 or 60 nights a calendar year, spending tens of thousands of corporate or personal dollars, simply to earn the privilege of a slightly faster check-in line and a complimentary bottle of water. However, historical trends from the last decade indicate a massive structural shift in the fundamental business model of the travel industry. Hotel loyalty programs are no longer merely reward systems for frequent travelers. They have evolved into highly sophisticated, multi-billion-dollar financial instruments designed primarily to acquire credit card customers for massive banking institutions. The banks purchase loyalty points from the hotel conglomerates by the absolute billions, essentially acting as a massive injection of liquid capital. In exchange for this continuous revenue stream, the hotel chains grant instant, unearned elite status to the bank's premium cardholders. We call this phenomenon synthetic loyalty, and mastering it is the ultimate skeleton key to luxury travel in 2026. Let us examine a highly detailed case study featuring Robert, a logistics coordinator from Atlanta, who is preparing for a pivotal 7-day trip to Los Angeles in the summer of 2026. Robert has never stayed at this specific luxury hotel brand in his entire life, possessing an account balance of absolutely 0 nights and 0 points. However, exactly 45 days before his scheduled arrival on the West Coast, he executes a highly calculated financial maneuver. He applies for and is approved for the highest-tier co-branded travel rewards credit card, intimately associated with that specific hotel portfolio. This premium financial product carries a seemingly exorbitant annual fee, often hovering around $650. For the uneducated consumer, this massive upfront cost serves as an immediate, impenetrable psychological barrier. But Robert understands the underlying mathematics of travel procurement and views this not as a fee, but as a heavily subsidized investment in operational leverage. The exact moment his new credit card is approved and activated by the banking institution, a digital data packet is instantly transmitted to the hotel conglomerate central servers, permanently altering Robert's guest profile. Overnight, without ever stepping foot inside a physical property, his previously empty account is artificially elevated to Platinum Elite status. To understand the sheer magnitude of this transaction, we must break down exactly what Platinum Elite status physically manifests on the ground when Robert arrives in Los Angeles. Because the property management algorithm cannot distinguish between organic status, earned through 60 nights of grueling travel, and synthetic status purchased via a banking partnership, Robert is treated as a highly coveted corporate asset. When the daily automated inventory sweep occurs at the hotel, his profile is instantly bumped to the absolute top of the priority queue for complimentary suite enhancements, systematically superseding dozens of organic guests who may have stayed at that specific property 5 or 10 times but do not hold top-tier network status. Furthermore, this synthetic tier explicitly guarantees a highly specific set of extremely valuable amenities, most notably complimentary premium breakfast for 2 guests every single morning of his stay. In a hyperinflated market like Los Angeles or New York City in 2026, a standard luxury hotel breakfast buffet easily costs $45 to $60 per person once taxes and mandatory gratuities are factored in. Over the course of a 7-day trip, Robert has instantly extracted potentially $840 in purely dining value. He has completely nullified the initial $650 credit card annual fee in a single trip, while simultaneously securing guaranteed 4 o'clock late checkout, significantly faster internet tiers, and unrestricted access to the executive club lounge. But acquiring a premium co-branded credit card is merely the foundational layer of manufacturing elite status. The true masterclass involves weaponizing that initial synthetic status through a highly strategic, cascading maneuver known within the industry as the status match domino effect. Imagine if you could take the Platinum Elite status Robert just effectively purchased from hotel chain Alpha and force hotel chain Bravo, their fiercest global competitor, to instantly recognize and match that exact same status without you ever spending a single dime on their properties. This is not a hypothetical scenario. It is a meticulously documented, publicly accessible mechanism explicitly designed by hospitality marketing departments to aggressively poach high-value, high-spending clients from their rivals. Here is the exact step-by-step methodology to execute the domino effect. In 2026, nearly every major hospitality conglomerate quietly operates a dedicated, unadvertised web portal specifically engineered for status matching. Robert logs into his hotel chain Alpha account and takes a verifiable digital screenshot of his newly minted Platinum Elite profile dashboard. He then navigates to the hidden status match portal of hotel chain Bravo. He uploads his digital documentation, effectively transmitting a highly specific psychological signal to the competitor. He is communicating that he is a highly loyal, affluent traveler who is currently dissatisfied with his current brand and is actively looking to shift his market share. The automated algorithm at hotel chain Bravo does not possess the capability to see that Robert simply acquired this status via a credit card approval 45 days prior. The system only registers a verified, top-tier competitor profile. Within a historical window of exactly 72 to 96 hours, hotel chain Bravo processes the competitive request and instantly upgrades Robert to their equivalent top-tier status, typically granting him a 90-day probationary period to experience all of their VIP benefits firsthand. We can escalate this historical trend even further by exploiting the massive geographic anomalies and corporate partnerships of the Las Vegas casino market. Major international hotel chains have forged massive, highly complex corporate alliances with specific Las Vegas casino conglomerates to share consumer data. If you possess manufactured elite status with a traditional global hotel brand, you can digitally link your account to their partner casino rewards program, instantly matching to top-tier casino elite status without ever placing a single bet on a table. You can then physically walk into a completely different, competing casino property on the Las Vegas Strip, present your newly minted elite casino card at the rewards desk, and demand a tier match. Once the competing casino matches your status, you simply link that new casino tier back to their associated global hotel partner. Through this intricate web of corporate reciprocity and data sharing loopholes, a single premium travel rewards credit card can effectively be cloned to unlock top-tier VIP access across 3 or 4 entirely independent global hospitality networks. For those who wish to avoid engaging with the credit card ecosystem entirely, there is another highly effective historical method to manufacture status, known as the Corporate Fast Track Challenge. Major hotel chains maintain massive, highly classified databases of corporate email domains belonging to Fortune 500 companies, massive technology firms, and major universities. If you work for one of these entities, or if you simply possess an active alumni email address from a major state university, you have potential access to an instant status accelerator. By entering your eligible corporate or educational email address into a highly specific, dynamically changing promotional portal, the hotel chain instantly elevates your account to elite status for a 90-day window. To maintain the status for the entire calendar year, they issue a challenge, drastically reducing the required nights from 50 down to perhaps merely 8 or 10. But even if you never intend to complete the physical challenge, you have successfully hijacked 90 days of unrestricted VIP treatment, completely transforming your upcoming weekend trip to New York City. You are now physically walking into these properties not as an anonymous, easily exploitable tourist, but as a fully recognized, algorithmically verified elite VIP. You have successfully bypassed the search engine profiling algorithms, you have extracted the lowest possible opaque wholesale base rates, you have systematically and legally scrubbed the physical folio of all insidious junk fees, and your manufactured synthetic status has automatically secured your premium suite upgrade and your complimentary dining. You have completely insulated yourself from the traditional hotel revenue traps. But the global hospitality industry has one final massive profit center designed specifically to rapidly drain your wallet, the exact moment you step outside your meticulously secured room. This final trap is the heavily guarded, astronomically priced food and beverage ecosystem operating within the hotel walls. Navigating the hidden menus, exploiting the legal loopholes of minibar restocks, and accessing the strictly confidential corporate hospitality suites where the premium food and alcohol flows entirely for free all day long, requires a completely different set of psychological tools and insider operational knowledge that we must systematically uncover right now. To systematically uncover these operational secrets, we first must thoroughly understand the predatory economics driving the modern hotel food and beverage ecosystem. In the current year of 2026, properties in major metropolitan hubs like Los Angeles and New York City absolutely do not view their on-site restaurants, room service menus, and lobby cafes as mere guest conveniences. They view them as highly aggressive revenue extraction mechanisms specifically designed to capitalize on traveler fatigue and geographical isolation. When you arrive at your hotel after a grueling cross-country flight, your physical and mental resistance to price gouging is at its absolute lowest. The property management algorithms know this fundamental human weakness. They know that charging $28 for a standard club sandwich and attaching a mandatory $9 tray delivery fee is mathematically justified by the sheer convenience factor they are providing. You are essentially a captive audience, enclosed within their architectural walls, and the psychological friction of leaving the property to navigate a strange city to find a more reasonable external dining option is often far too high for the exhausted traveler. Let us examine a highly specific case study regarding the most insidious financial trap located directly inside your room: the automated smart minibar. Imagine if William, a financial analyst traveling from Chicago, checks into a midtown Manhattan luxury property late on a Tuesday evening. He is severely parched from his journey. He opens the sleek, glass-fronted refrigerator and picks up a bottle of imported mineral water simply to read the nutritional label and check the sodium content. He decides against drinking it and places the bottle back exactly where he found it. The next morning, his digital television folio reflects a $14 automated charge. This is not a system error or a mistake by the housekeeping staff. In the modern hospitality landscape, these refrigerators are not simple cooling units. They are highly sophisticated, weight-sensitive vending machines tied directly into the central billing mainframe of the hotel. The exact moment an item is lifted from its specialized sensor pad for more than 3 to 5 seconds, the system automatically bills your account. To completely defeat this automated financial trap, you must utilize a strictly enforced operational workaround known widely in the industry as the medical refrigeration loophole. Historical trends and strict compliance with federal disability regulations dictate that hotels must provide a secure, medically compliant refrigeration unit for any guest who needs to store prescribed medication or highly specific dietary liquids. Before William even arrives at the property, he calls the front desk and politely requests that a complimentary medical refrigerator be placed in his suite prior to his check-in. The hotel operational staff is required to physically roll a secondary, entirely empty, and non-sensored mini fridge into the room. William now possesses a personal, fully operational refrigeration unit to store his own externally purchased groceries, beverages, and local restaurant takeout, completely bypassing the exorbitant sensor trap of the primary minibar without triggering a single automated charge. But safely storing your own groceries is merely a defensive tactic. To pivot to an offensive strategy, we must deeply analyze the absolute pinnacle of hotel food and beverage exploitation, the Executive Club Lounge. Often hidden behind unmarked, keycard-restricted heavy wooden doors on the highest floors of the property, these corporate hospitality suites are the most tightly guarded culinary assets in any major global hotel. Inside these highly exclusive zones, a continuous, fully complimentary flow of premium espresso, top-tier alcoholic beverages, and chef-prepared hot meals are served continuously from dawn until late in the evening. The public retail cost of manually adding club lounge access to a standard room reservation frequently exceeds $150 per person per day. However, by utilizing the synthetic elite status we manufactured in the previous segment through strategic credit card acquisitions, you are automatically granted unrestricted, complimentary access for yourself and one additional registered guest. Let us look at the potential outcomes for Samantha, a software engineer from Austin, staying 5 consecutive nights at a premier property in downtown Los Angeles. By simply flashing her digital elite credential on her smartphone, she bypasses the crowded $50 lobby breakfast buffet entirely. Instead, she ascends the private elevator to the 35th floor executive lounge, enjoying highly customized, made-to-order omelets and fresh-pressed organic juices, while sitting in a quiet, luxurious environment overlooking the distant Hollywood Hills. At exactly 5 in the evening, when standard hotel guests are venturing out into the heavy Los Angeles traffic to spend hundreds of dollars at expensive local restaurants, Samantha returns to the private lounge for the highly anticipated evening service. Historical trends over the last few years show that modern executive lounges have drastically escalated their evening culinary offerings to compete with local high-end dining. They now regularly include heavy hot appetizers, carved artisan meats, and expansive cheese boards that effectively function as a complete, highly satisfying dinner replacement. Combined with the complimentary premium cocktails served from the private honor bar, Samantha is effortlessly extracting nearly $200 of daily culinary value, entirely subsidizing her entire food and beverage budget for the entire duration of her Los Angeles business trip. For those rare instances where you must interact directly with the standard property restaurants, you must understand the hidden mechanics of the corporate tier menu. Major hotel dining venues frequently operate with two entirely distinct pricing structures programmed into their point-of-sale systems. The physical glossy menu handed to the average walking tourist contains mathematically inflated prices, designed strictly to absorb the high overhead of 24-hour hotel operations. However, property food and beverage managers also maintain an internal, drastically reduced pricing structure specifically negotiated for airline flight crews, contracted corporate event staff, and massive extended-stay corporate vendors. When dining on site, a highly educated travel procurement specialist does not simply accept the retail menu at face value. You politely engage the server or the dining room manager and discreetly ask if they are currently honoring the corporate per diem menu or the airline crew menu for extended-stay guests. In numerous documented case studies, simply presenting your synthetic elite status or demonstrating an insider understanding of their operational pricing tiers triggers the staff to manually override the system and provide you with the secondary menu, instantly slashing your final dining bill by 30 to 40%. You are successfully forcing the restaurant management to treat you not as a transient, highly exploitable tourist, but as a contracted, high-value operational partner. You have now mastered the complex art of acquiring your room at absolute wholesale cost, forcing the algorithm to upgrade you to premium luxury suites for free, legally erasing predatory destination fees, and extracting hundreds of dollars in complimentary high-end dining. You are completely dominating the internal, carefully controlled ecosystem of the hotel, but the exact moment you decide to leave the physical property to actually step out and explore the streets of New York or Los Angeles, you step into an entirely different, highly monopolized financial meat grinder. The physical transportation infrastructure immediately surrounding these major hotels is a carefully coordinated syndicate of exorbitant overnight valet fees, predatory airport transfer contracts, and strategically manipulated rideshare algorithmic surge zones. Securing your luxury suite is entirely meaningless if you are hemorrhaging $60 every single time you need your vehicle brought to the front curb, or paying an extra $150 just to travel a few miles from the airport baggage claim to the hotel lobby. There is a deeply buried set of municipal zoning loopholes and off-site logistical workarounds that can completely neuter this aggressive transportation monopoly, and uncovering exactly how to navigate this ruthless urban transit matrix without draining your wallet is what we must dissect next. To successfully neuter this aggressive transportation monopoly, we must first profoundly understand the hidden architectural and economic realities of urban parking infrastructure in the year 2026. When you pull your rental vehicle up to the gleaming front entrance of a luxury hotel in downtown Los Angeles or Manhattan, you are met by a team of sharply dressed valets. The immediate assumption is that these individuals are direct employees of the hotel, and that your vehicle will be securely stored in a subterranean vault directly beneath the property. Historical trends and corporate disclosures reveal a fundamentally different reality. In a vast majority of premium urban markets, hotel parking is entirely outsourced to third-party, monolithic parking management syndicates. These syndicates sign highly lucrative, multi-year revenue-sharing contracts with the hotel properties. To maximize their profit margins and cover the massive overhead of commercial insurance and unionized labor, they artificially inflate the nightly parking rate to astronomical levels, frequently charging $85 to $120 per night for a standard sedan, not including mandatory retrieval tips and localized parking taxes. They are monetizing your geographical convenience. Let us examine a detailed case study featuring Marcus, a regional sales director from Dallas, who is driving a rented vehicle into the heart of Beverly Hills for a 4-day conference. Marcus arrives at the property, hands his keys to the valet, and inadvertently signs a digital contract that will add nearly $400 to his final checkout folio. What Marcus does not realize is that the third-party valet syndicate physically drives his vehicle 3 blocks away to a massive, multi-level commercial parking structure, where they have leased a bulk section of standard spaces. The absolute tragedy of this specific scenario is that this exact commercial parking structure is fully open to the general public. If Marcus possessed the insider knowledge of modern travel procurement, he could completely bypass the valet syndicate and drastically alter his potential outcomes. The strategy to dismantle the valet monopoly involves a precise sequence of logistical maneuvers utilizing digital commercial parking aggregators. Before Marcus even navigates his vehicle into the Los Angeles city limits, he opens a specialized mobile application designed strictly to audit municipal parking inventory. He inputs the exact physical address of his luxury hotel and analyzes the immediate 2-block radius. Because commercial parking in 2026 operates on a highly dynamic, yield-managed pricing model heavily dependent on daily commuter traffic, massive concrete garages frequently sit entirely empty overnight. To generate any form of revenue during these dark hours, independent garage operators list their excess inventory on these digital aggregators at highly depressed wholesale rates. Marcus locates a fully secured, camera-monitored subterranean garage exactly 0.2 miles from his hotel, offering multi-day, overnight parking passes with unrestricted in and out privileges for a mere $24 per night. To execute this maneuver flawlessly without sacrificing the luxury experience, Marcus employs the drop and sweep technique. He drives directly to the hotel porte cochere, temporarily utilizes the loading zone, and allows the bell staff to unload his heavy luggage and secure it on a brass cart. He explicitly informs the valet captain that he is strictly self-parking and merely dropping off his belongings. He then drives the 2 blocks to the secured commercial garage, scans his prepaid digital barcode, and takes a brief 5-minute walk back to the hotel lobby completely unencumbered. By adding exactly 10 minutes of minor physical logistics to his arrival sequence, Marcus has successfully extracted over $300 of trap value, completely neutralizing the third-party valet syndicate, while still enjoying the full-service luggage delivery of the luxury property. However, conquering the static parking infrastructure is only one component of urban transit mastery. The true financial hemorrhage occurs the moment you attempt to utilize a digital rideshare platform to navigate the city, particularly when attempting to escape the gravitational pull of a major international airport. In 2026, the digital algorithms governing ride-hailing applications utilize highly aggressive, hyper-localized geofencing parameters. When you land at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York or Los Angeles International Airport, your smartphone physically crosses an invisible digital boundary. The algorithm instantly registers your device as a highly distressed, transit-dependent asset locked within an artificial supply desert. The rideshare companies intentionally limit the number of driver vehicles allowed inside the airport terminal zones, creating a massive, manufactured bottleneck of demand. When you open your application while standing on the terminal curb, the algorithm subjects you to an automatic, predatory surge multiplier, frequently quoting $90 to $140 for a simple 20-minute ride to your Midtown hotel. Imagine if we analyze the case study of Olivia, a graphic designer from Seattle arriving at JFK Terminal 4 on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Olivia refuses to become a victim of algorithmic extortion. Instead of requesting a vehicle directly from the designated airport pickup zone, she exploits a massive structural loophole in the transportation matrix, known as the transit buffer extraction. Olivia walks directly past the chaotic rideshare queues and boards the entirely free, automated airport transit train. She rides this train strictly to the outermost perimeter of the airport property, specifically targeting the rental car center or the final long-term parking station. These specific geographical nodes are strategically located just outside the hyper-localized, predatory geofence utilized by the rideshare algorithms. The moment Olivia steps off the automated train and physically walks 50 feet onto the adjacent public sidewalk, she crosses the invisible digital border. She opens her rideshare application, and because her device is now broadcasting a location from a standard, non-distressed commercial avenue, rather than the restricted airport terminal, the algorithmic surge multiplier completely collapses. The exact same vehicle, driven by the exact same driver, traveling to the exact same luxury hotel in Manhattan, instantly drops from $120 down to a standardized baseline rate of $45. By simply understanding the invisible digital architecture of the airport and utilizing a free 10-minute automated train ride to relocate her digital footprint, Olivia has effectively severed the financial leverage of the transit monopoly. This exact same transit buffer methodology must be aggressively applied when leaving your luxury hotel to explore the city. The algorithms specifically target the physical addresses of 5-star properties, applying micro-surges to any requested pickup originating from their prestigious zip codes. To combat this, you simply walk 1 block away to a generic coffee shop, a local pharmacy, or a standard residential intersection before activating your application. This minor geographical shift fundamentally alters your consumer profile in the eyes of the algorithm, reclassifying you from an affluent tourist residing in a luxury tower to an average local resident running a daily errand, instantly unlocking localized, non-inflated transit rates. You have now mastered the art of physical movement, seamlessly gliding through the most expensive metropolitan grids in the country without triggering a single algorithmic financial trap. You possess the wholesale room, the complimentary premium dining, the artificially elevated loyalty status, and the neutralized transit logistics. You have built an impenetrable fortress of travel efficiency. But there is one final catastrophic scenario that strikes terror into the heart of even the most seasoned corporate traveler. What happens when you execute this entire flawless strategy, arrive at the physical property late at night, and the exhausted front desk manager informs you that despite your confirmed reservation, they have massively overbooked the physical building and absolutely no rooms are available? This highly volatile industry phenomenon is called being walked, and understanding the heavily guarded federal regulations and the exact psychological script required to force the hotel conglomerate to pay massive, punitive compensation directly into your bank account while transferring you to an even better property is the absolute most critical survival skill we must master next. To survive this catastrophic logistical failure and extract massive, punitive compensation directly into your bank account while transferring to an even better property, you must first completely deconstruct the aggressive economic mechanics of hotel yield management. In the hyper-competitive hospitality landscape of 2026, a hotel is never truly sold out when it reaches 100% capacity. Historical trends and decades of data analysis have taught corporate revenue managers that on any given night, a specific mathematical percentage of confirmed guests will simply fail to arrive. Flights will be severely delayed by weather systems, business meetings will be abruptly canceled, and personal emergencies will arise. To prevent these empty, highly perishable rooms from generating zero revenue, the central property management algorithms deliberately and systematically oversell the physical capacity of the building. They will routinely book 105 or even 110% of their actual available inventory, banking entirely on the statistical probability of no-shows to perfectly balance the ledger by midnight. However, the algorithm is not infallible. On specific nights in major metropolitan hubs like New York City or Los Angeles, especially during massive industry conventions or unexpected regional weather events that force travelers to seek immediate shelter, the statistical model completely collapses. Every single person who booked a room actually shows up at the front desk. This triggers a massive operational crisis known internally throughout the global hospitality industry as being walked. When you arrive at the property late at night, and the agent informs you that they are completely oversold and cannot honor your confirmed reservation, you are experiencing a walk. The absolute worst action you can possibly take in this scenario is to accept their initial, heavily rehearsed apology and a simple refund of your deposit. A refund is mathematically disastrous for you. It legally absolves the hotel of their contractual obligation and physically throws you out onto the street in a major, hyperinflated city at midnight, forcing you to pay astronomical walk-in rates at a competing property entirely out of your own pocket. Let us examine a highly detailed case study featuring Daniel, a structural engineer from Boston, who arrives at a prominent business hotel in Midtown Manhattan at 11:30 at night in the winter of 2026. Daniel is exhausted, and the front desk agent, strictly following standard operating procedures designed to minimize the financial loss of the property, quietly informs him that the hotel is oversold. The agent offers a standardized apology, processes a refund to Daniel's credit card, and hands him a printed list of cheap, highly undesirable motels located near the airport, miles away from his intended destination. The agent is deliberately preying on Daniel's exhaustion, hoping he will simply take the paper and leave the lobby. But Daniel is a highly educated travel procurement specialist. He understands that a confirmed reservation is a binding operational contract, and he immediately deploys the industry standard relocation protocol. Daniel firmly but politely refuses the refund. He calmly informs the front desk agent that he will not be canceling his reservation, and that he expects the property to fully execute their mandatory walk procedures. Every major global hotel conglomerate operates under strict internal franchise agreements that dictate exactly what must happen when a property fails to honor a confirmed booking. These historical policies mandate that the offending hotel must immediately locate a comparable or superior room at a competing property within the exact same geographical radius. Furthermore, the original hotel must completely pay the entire financial cost of that new room for the first night, completely absorbing the massive retail price difference. They are also strictly required to provide entirely free, private transportation to the new facility. Daniel does not ask the agent to do this. He confidently instructs them to initiate this specific corporate protocol. But Daniel possesses an even more devastating financial weapon. Because Daniel successfully utilized our previously discussed strategies to manufacture synthetic top-tier elite status through a premium travel rewards credit card, he is heavily protected by a highly specific, publicly documented corporate clause often referred to as an elite relocation policy. When a hotel attempts to walk a top-tier elite member, the financial penalties imposed upon that local property by the global corporate parent are absolutely massive. Historical data reveals that major international chains mandate severe punitive damages payable directly to the displaced elite guest. In 2026, these corporate-mandated penalties frequently include $200 to $300 in direct cash compensation, or an instant deposit of up to 100,000 loyalty points into the guest's digital account, which carries an immense intrinsic value for future luxury redemptions. When the local front desk agent attempts to walk Daniel, he clearly states his top-tier elite status level and formally invokes the specific name of his corporate relocation policy. The entire psychological dynamic of the lobby instantly shifts. The agent realizes they are not dealing with an uninformed tourist, but a highly protected corporate asset. Often, local property managers will attempt to desperately evade these massive punitive payouts by claiming the overbooking was caused by an act of God, such as a severe storm, which occasionally voids the compensation clause. Daniel anticipates this defensive maneuver. He immediately pulls up local aviation data on his smartphone, proving that the local airports have been operating at 98% efficiency all day, and that the overbooking is strictly the result of their own aggressive algorithmic yield management, not an uncontrollable natural disaster. If the local manager still refuses to comply with the massive financial payout, Daniel executes the ultimate escalation tactic. While physically standing at the front desk, he dials the highly classified, dedicated corporate elite customer service routing number provided by his synthetic status. He connects directly with a global corporate liaison, calmly explains that the local franchise is currently in direct violation of the elite relocation policy, and hands the phone across the mahogany counter to the local manager. The corporate liaison, representing the massive power of the global brand, will forcefully mandate that the local property completely cover the relocation and issue the punitive financial damages immediately. The local manager has absolutely no choice but to comply, or risk losing their lucrative corporate franchise flag. The potential outcomes of this masterful execution are absolutely staggering. Within 30 minutes, a private black car pulls up to the original hotel. Daniel is driven directly to a massive, 5-star flagship luxury property located directly on Central Park South, a hotel that normally commands $1,200 a night. His entire stay is completely paid for by the original offending hotel. Furthermore, his digital account is credited with 90,000 loyalty points, effectively funding his next 3-night vacation entirely for free. Daniel has successfully taken a massive logistical nightmare designed to leave him stranded and financially ruined, and ruthlessly reverse-engineered it into the single most lucrative travel transaction of his entire year. He effectively forced the algorithmic pricing model to pay him for the privilege of sleeping in a vastly superior luxury suite. You have now acquired a profoundly deep, almost dangerous level of operational intelligence regarding the hidden economic engines of the global hospitality industry. You know exactly how to turn yourself into a digital ghost to secure the absolute lowest wholesale rates hidden from the domestic public. You know how to utilize satellite zoning maps to decode heavily disguised opaque inventory. You have mastered the psychological front desk script required to leverage operational compression into massive, multi-tier premium suite enhancements. You understand the precise consumer protection laws necessary to systematically scrub insidious urban destination fees from your final folio. And you possess the exact chronological sequence to legally manufacture top-tier elite status using premium financial instruments. Finally, you know exactly how to extract hundreds of dollars in hidden culinary value from highly restricted corporate club lounges, neutralize predatory transit algorithms using geographical buffers, and completely weaponize the industry relocation protocols to your massive financial advantage. But possessing this vast arsenal of disconnected tactics is completely useless if you execute them in the wrong chronological order or deploy them in the wrong geographical market. The sheer complexity of navigating these interconnected algorithms requires a rigid, heavily structured operational framework. Imagine if you could condense every single psychological strategy, every digital loophole, and every financial extraction technique we have discussed into a single automated master checklist. A foolproof, systematic workflow that takes exactly 12 minutes to execute on your computer before you book any future trip, completely guaranteeing that you will never again fall victim to the predatory pricing models of the modern travel industry. Constructing this ultimate step-by-step execution protocol, detailing the exact chronological order of operations for your next major acquisition, is the final, absolute most critical piece of the puzzle that we must definitively solve right now. To successfully implement this comprehensive 12-minute execution protocol, we must analyze a detailed, chronologically precise case study. Imagine if Christopher, a senior logistics director from Chicago, is tasked with executing a highly critical multi-day business deployment to the heart of New York City in November 2026. He sits down at his workstation exactly 60 days prior to his intended arrival. This specific chronological marker is the absolute starting line of the operation. The first 3 minutes of his workflow are dedicated entirely to the digital cleanse. Christopher absolutely does not rely on a standard private browsing window, as historical trends and extensive data privacy audits have definitively proven that modern device fingerprinting renders this elementary tactic entirely obsolete. Instead, he systematically clears his entire browser cache, completely purges all active tracking cookies, and immediately initiates a premium virtual private network. He deliberately routes his encrypted connection through a server node located in a specific South American or Eastern European market, where regional economic indicators dictate that major hospitality conglomerates must dynamically offer significantly lower localized baseline rates to actively stimulate international tourism. By executing this simple technological geographic shift, Christopher has instantly shielded his profile from the domestic algorithmic profiling engine that specifically targets and artificially inflates prices for affluent United States consumers based on their regional device footprint. Minutes 4 through 6 are focused entirely on deploying synthetic loyalty armor. Christopher does not immediately begin browsing available hotel inventory. Instead, he navigates directly to the highly specific corporate partnership portals or the hidden credit card acquisition pages we previously analyzed. He leverages his existing financial portfolio to actively apply for a premium co-branded travel rewards card intimately linked to a major global hotel chain, or he executes an aggressive status match using his verified corporate alumni email address. He deeply understands that he must mathematically force the hotel's central reservation system to recognize his digital profile as a top-tier elite VIP long before he ever initiates a financial transaction. This specific chronological step is absolutely non-negotiable. If he books the luxury room as an anonymous, unverified civilian, he permanently destroys the operational leverage required to successfully extract the complimentary premium breakfast, the guaranteed late checkout, and the massive suite enhancements. By actively securing the synthetic status first, he ensures that the very moment his future booking data enters the property management mainframe, it is automatically flagged with an unchangeable digital priority beacon. Now we enter the most critical operational phase, minutes 7 through 9, representing the actual physical acquisition of the distressed asset. Christopher understands the highly volatile temporal mechanics of hotel revenue management. He knows that attempting to book a room 60 days out on the primary, transparent retail site is essentially financial suicide, as the automated systems are currently holding prices at an absolute premium to capture desperate corporate travelers. Instead, he sets a strict, automated calendar alert for exactly 72 hours before his physical arrival in Manhattan. The exact moment that alert triggers, he aggressively accesses the major opaque booking platforms, knowing this is the precise window where panicked revenue managers begin silently dumping their unsold, highly perishable inventory. He applies the cross-reference matrix methodology with absolute surgical precision. He filters the geographical neighborhood strictly to his desired location, perhaps the highly coveted Tribeca or Upper West Side zones. He isolates the 4.5-star quality tier. He meticulously inputs the exact required amenity combinations, demanding a pet-friendly policy paired with an indoor heated pool. He matches the exact, non-rounded customer review count, identifying the target luxury property with absolute mathematical certainty. He then rigorously cross-references the stated opaque geographical zone against real-time municipal construction permit maps to guarantee he is not accidentally booking a luxury property situated directly adjacent to a massive, multi-year heavy machinery excavation site. Only when every single data point perfectly aligns does he execute the heavily discounted, non-refundable transaction, securing the luxury base room at the absolute lowest wholesale floor. Minutes 10 through 12 dictate the precise physical infiltration of the property. Christopher arrives in New York City, but he completely ignores the chaotic, heavily monetized airport taxi queues. He strictly utilizes the transit buffer extraction method, riding the entirely free airport automated train to the outermost rental car facility or long-term parking structure before ever summoning his digital rideshare. This minor geographical relocation instantly collapses the predatory algorithmic surge pricing, saving him nearly $80 before he even reaches the island of Manhattan. When his vehicle finally approaches the towering luxury hotel, he utilizes the drop-in-suite parking maneuver. He leaves his heavy luggage with the eager bell staff at the front curb, explicitly informing the valet captain that he is strictly self-parking. He then drives his vehicle to a secured third-party commercial garage 2 blocks away that he pre-booked on a digital aggregator for $20 a night, completely neutralizing the $100 per night predatory valet syndicate. As he takes the brief walk back to the grand lobby, he initiates the digital audit on his smartphone application, confirming with absolute certainty that the property currently holds 6 entirely vacant executive corner suites. He approaches the physical front desk exactly at 1:15 in the afternoon, expertly avoiding the chaotic peak check-in rush hour where operational flexibility drops to zero. He warmly greets the agent, completely avoids the heavily penalized and highly scripted trigger word upgrade, and instead utilizes the advanced lexicon of operational flexibility. He references his newly minted synthetic elite status, casually mentions the specific available suite inventory he noticed on the mobile application, and politely asks if there is any flexibility for a room enhancement or a reallocation to a premium floor to celebrate a specific milestone. The agent, seeing the flashing elite status flag and deeply appreciating Christopher's collaborative, low-pressure tone during a quiet off-peak hour, manually overrides the system constraints and hands him the keycard to a massive corner suite that retails for nearly $1,000 a night. But Christopher does not drop his defensive guard. The exact moment he is presented with the registration card, he executes the preemptive strike against the insidious urban destination fee. He explicitly informs the agent that he is formally declining the mandatory amenity package, clearly stating he will not consume the generic bottled water or utilize the internal internet gateway, immediately establishing a vital legal timeline of refusal. Throughout his stay, he strictly utilizes the medical refrigeration loophole to safely store his own provisions, completely avoiding the highly sensitive automated weight sensors of the smart minibar. Every single morning, he aggressively bypasses the crowded, overpriced lobby cafe and ascends directly to the restricted executive club lounge, utilizing his synthetic status to extract hundreds of dollars in complimentary premium dining for himself. On the morning of his departure, he successfully forces the front desk manager to legally scrub the accumulated destination fees from his final folio by calmly and professionally citing deceptive trade practices and services not rendered. If the manager resists, Christopher simply pays the balance with his premium credit card, secures the zero balance folio, and initiates a catastrophic merchant chargeback dispute the moment his flight departs, completely shifting the burden of proof onto the hotel conglomerate. This comprehensive 12-minute execution protocol represents the absolute pinnacle of modern travel procurement. You are no longer navigating the highly volatile hospitality landscape as a highly exploitable consumer. You are operating as a deeply educated logistical tactician, actively exploiting the structural fractures within the very algorithms designed to extract your wealth. The potential outcomes of strictly adhering to this precise chronological framework are absolutely staggering, with historical case studies demonstrating that educated travelers consistently reduce their overall travel expenditures by 40 to 60%, while simultaneously experiencing a drastically elevated tier of luxury service. You now possess the ultimate architectural blueprint to completely dominate the domestic travel ecosystem. But everything we have systematically dismantled today is strictly confined to the domestic borders of the United States, dealing primarily with standard, highly predictable hotel revenue management algorithms. What happens when you attempt to cross an international border, where you are suddenly thrust into a chaotic, largely unregulated global matrix of massively fluctuating currency exchange rates, entirely different airline ticketing algorithms, and hidden sovereign aviation taxes that can completely destroy your entire travel budget in a matter of seconds? The complex psychological warfare and advanced digital manipulation required to mathematically force international airline conglomerates to sell you long-haul premium business class cabins for the exact price of standard domestic economy is an entirely different, vastly more dangerous puzzle that we will decode in our next masterclass.